Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football and pro wrestling podcast, generally in the summer that we bring you each and every week. It is Pro Wrestling Weekly. The panel, the Avengers have assembled. The panel is ready to go. Plenty of talking points tonight, plenty of wrestling to cover. Gentlemen, how are we?
Very good. I thought we had a good week of wrestling. I'm looking forward to getting into it. There's a lot of ups to talk about and a couple of downs, one very particular big down. But we'll get to that.
Fair enough. Right, so with you guys wearing your uniform, we'll get into this. Nice t-shirts, lads. Very nice, very nice. We shall start with Worlds Collide. So we'll take it in order of happening, really. Sean Sean Mack, do you want to take us on? This one's to kick us off with it and stuff like that and all. Excellent show, I thought.
Yeah, no, an absolutely brilliant way to kick off the sure about weekend because it's on the same night as Money in the Bank, but a great way to kick off the night, if you will. I was as interested as anyone when I heard about the acquisition of AAA, and unfortunately, when WWE acquire a company, sometimes it's too good to be true. It does more harm than good. Now, obviously, we're too early into this to tell whether it's going to do any harm, but I thought it did really good. I really enjoyed this show. I think it showed the best AAA. I used to call them AAA.
Sean, just check your mic there. You're getting a bit of feedback on your mic. Getting a bit of buzzing on your mic or something.
Is that better?
A little bit. Still a bit buzzy.
Okay. Hang on.
We're live, pal.
That's okay.
Is that any better?
Yeah, it still feels like there's a breeze going by or something.
It might be my my laptop's plugged in at the minute, so it's making a bit of a it's about to take off into flight.
Yeah, that sounds better now.
Okay, good. Sorry. Yeah, dear, sorry about that, boys. I should. I literally came into my room at 5 to 8. I was out on a walk, so I didn't get to do a proper sound check. But no, really, really good show. Showed AAA's best against WWE's best, and I think we and a lot of other people have discovered some brand new AAA talent. So really, really good show. Really fun. And it was a breeze, wasn't it? The fact that it was in a not smallish arena, like a normal sized arena. It didn't have any like crazy lights or LED boards or Minute Maid advertising or Dude Wipes advertising plastered all over the barricade and the ring post stuff. It just let you focus on the wrestling, and a really, really fun show. The opening ceremony with Rey Mysterio was a good way to cap off a new era, if you will, because I think this will bring a lot of exciting things, and having Rey open it really shows. Because I'd imagine this is something he would have fought for more Lucha Libre representation in WWE and on American soil. And then the first match we had was Octagon Jr., Aerostar, and Mr. Iguana, who I'm sure will have a plethora of opinions about defeating Dragon Lee, Cruz del Toro, and Lince Dorado. It's a name I haven't heard in a long while. Really fun match. I think everyone looked really well. I think everyone on the WWE side often gets lost in the shuffle. So when they get so lost in the shuffle, you could often forget that they're actually very, very, very good in ring. Cruz del Toro and Dragon Lee are incredible, and Lince Dorado was always a star. So getting them to showcase that was great. Now, obviously, the main star of this was Mr. Iguana. That man, I saw they ran a vignette on him on Raw. I really hope that means it won't be the last time we see him on our screens. But no, this is a really, really fun way to kick off the show. And it wasn't the only assignment of the night for Octagon Jr. You probably thought it was, but after, obviously, Dominic Mysterio came in and jumped everyone, then Octagon fought him off, and then he said, how about me and you at Money in the Bank for the title? Now, the match wasn't that. It was very quick, just a nice way to gateway into the match after, but still a cool moment nonetheless, and a good start to a great show.
Absolutely. Bran, thoughts?
Yeah.
Give me thoughts on it. We don't have to go down match by match. Just pick out bits if you want, really. It doesn't have to be a absolute headlock analysis.
For somebody like me, who's not really familiar with AAA, this was a great little introduction. I do think Mr. Iguana is the star of the show here. I think there is a place for him on the show for sure. Octagon, he would go on and obviously work twice that night. I thought Octagon had a great showing. And like that, it was a breeze of fresh air. And I think Acers said it best in the chat there. It's a good show. It was a reminder of old WCW Cruiserweight division, because I would have been more familiar with that over AAA. And look, I'm into a different kind of style of wrestling for the main part, but yeah, this was a breeze. It was fun, it was fast, and a good little introduction. And I hope they continue as they mean to go on. And I hope they don't flounder like they have done in the past when they've acquired other brands. To me, this was a solid showing, and it was very well done by everybody around, especially the Chad Gable match at the end. I say the Chad Gable because, again, I wasn't too familiar with El Hildo del Vinga. I can't even pronounce it, to be honest with you.
Vikingo, yeah.
Thank you very much. Chad Gable, he's a superstar, isn't he? An absolute superstar. A joy to watch. So yeah, for me, great introduction to AAA, and I'm actually excited about the future for this. And whilst I say it's not my number one type of wrestling to go to, loved this. This was deadly.
Yeah, the show kind of felt like, one of those shows that you go to that, like, you don't have a huge expectation, but you just want to go and have a lot of fun at the show. Sean later on will be talking about OTT and the Contender show and stuff like that happened last weekend and stuff like that. Sometimes you go to those Contender shows and they actually work out absolutely fantastic and you have a great time. And sometimes they can nearly overshadow sometimes the main shows. And I think with this show, it was a great display of AAA. It was brilliant with Rey Mysterio at the start. And if they've any sense, what they should do is they should make him like the general manager of this coming together or something like that, or something, that would be a great role for him and stuff like that. I thought the show itself, it neatly was put together and stuff like that. I thought some of the bumps and some of the moves are absolutely insane. Especially some of those bumps Dragon Lee took that he missed and just pancaked on the outside. Reminded me of some of the old gym shows I used to go to locally here with NWA and IWW and stuff like that, where these guys were just reckless beyond anything with their bodies and stuff like that and all, so it was absolutely insane and brilliant to see. Great, as you said, to see some of the characters. I have to say, people like Stephanie Fakor and Chad Gable, each week we see them, they're just raising the bar and going from strength to strength all the time. I thought Legado del Fantasma had a good showing as well. It was a slightly slower paced match, I thought, with the other three boys in there and stuff like that. But I thought it worked really well that way, because what happened was it came to that crescendo at the end of the match where they were able to speed things up, and then it looked really, really cool. But people like Psycho Clown and Wagner Jr. and all these guys, like it's just insane characters and stuff like that obviously we may not be as familiar with, but certainly we will get more familiar with. I thought Ray Fenix was absolutely awesome. I thought that match with Ethan Page, I thought was just absolutely outrageous. And then obviously the match with Chad Gable, and myself and Sean during the week were talking about the Canadian Destroyer off the top rope onto the apron was just insane, and the timing that it takes and stuff like that. And I think Vikingo at times can be underrated a little bit, because I think his work sometimes can look a little bit loose, and if he's not in there with the right dance partner, it doesn't look and shine the way it should. But I think in this case with Chad Gable, and like Chad brought that kind of brutality as well as feeding into that kind of that high-flying lucha style as well. Chad Gable's just a phenomenal athlete and just a phenomenal talent and stuff like that and all. Like I said, Laredo Kid, Javon Evans, Ray Fenix, Ethan Page, everyone I think knocked out of the park. Stephanie had a great show, double jobbing on the night as well, also with Money in the Bank and stuff like that. I thought it was a fabulous showing, and I suppose on the back of the last few weeks where we've been kind of like, we've been coming out of the PTSD of Mania and the kind of where the scene at tour is going and all that other stuff, to have a weekend where you have a number of shows that come together like this and kind of really, really deliver. And then onto the Raw, and we'll get to that as well, that kind of delivered as well and stuff like that. It's like, it just reinvigorates us coming into the summer tour, basically, if you like, the summer of punk or scene or whatever you want to call it at this stage. So yeah, I thought it was a great showing. I thought it, as a starting collaboration and stuff like that, I thought it was brilliant. And you know, I like the way that the way that they were branding it and stuff like that. And all, as Sean said, it wasn't about someone's tequila or someone else's ice cream bars or anything like that. It was really just about two organizations and the best of display of what they had to offer at the time and stuff like that. So really, really cool and great to put on a show like that, especially right before one of their major pay-per-views and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. Sean, Sean O'Rourke, chatting, Mac, anything else to add if you want on it?
I'm all good. I think you've pretty much covered it.
Corey Graves on commentary was absolutely fantastic. And Conan, even though he's a bit of a dose, and even though he follows me on Twitter and messaged me asking if I listened to his podcast, and I told him no. And he said, well, tell me your name and I'll shout you out. And then I just left him on open, haven't spoken to him since. But me and him are mates. But it's cool to see him here. I think Corey Graves did a really, really good job of leading. Typically, he's always the color commentator, the side commentator. Did a great job of leading the show. He obviously was very knowledgeable about everything. He wasn't just doing it just because like it was assigned to him. He genuinely cared. Conan, on the other hand, I feel he got a little lost at times. There's times where something happened and he was rambling on about shit instead of reacting or talking about it. But like other than that, it was really good. That match as well, Vikingo and Chad Gable, was absolutely stellar. If you have any doubts about Chad Gable, just watch. He's
how
insane.
How could we?
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, having Conan there kind of legitimized it a little bit. Although he did kind of like, you know, everything became like an outstanding move or a world-class move or a world-class athlete, really, and it was just a little bit repetitive. But that, I mean, those kind of things can be fine-tuned, and I'm sure there's a nervousness to it as well, you know, because you really want this to deliver at the outset after, you know, the takeover or the merger or whatever you want to call it and stuff like that and all, you know. So, yeah, really, really good and really interesting on there. We shall see. So let's move on to Roll Me's In. Iguana, I like that dude, even though his face is painted like a peppermint tea bag. There we go. I like that dude as well because anyone that has gimmicks and merch is music to my ears. There you go. My new favorite guy. There we go. Money in the bank, folks. Let's talk money in the bank. I'll get you guys to talk about the matches. Overall, I think it delivered pretty well. I think everything went pretty well. I thought some of it was just brilliant. I thought the women's Money in the Bank was exceptional. Really, really enjoyed it. I have to say, again, as I say, every time Stephanie shows up, her leveling up is just insane. To the point where we might call, let's say, on those shows, seasoned veterans being looked sort of lesser with these new girls that have come up and stuff like that, and it just looked absolutely brilliant. But yeah, kick us off, Bren. Pick whatever you want. Start off in any rotation. Men's Money in the Bank, whatever you want.
I'm going to go with the women's one because I think it was incredible to watch. Stephanie had a great showing. Sean called it as well. They did it at the start. It was old versus new, kind of. Which do you know what? It was actually really good the way they did that. I think Rhea Ripley was phenomenal in it. She was brilliant. But I think I called Naomi winning. Well, I did. I did. I called Naomi winning, and I think it was the right decision because I think every other one of them, they're either probably too young to win it. I get the argument of giving it to an up and coming, but everybody has a story, and there's always next year for some of them as well because they've got years more. And I think Naomi's story is that little bit better, and she deserved it as well. An absolute joy to watch. And I like a lot of women's matches these days, certainly not in the past, but a lot of women's matches these days, Steele's absolutely show stealer. Really enjoyed it. So that's my take on the women's match.
Okay. Sean O'Rourke, now you would have been watching this women's match.
You know, obviously Brian covered most of it there, but as he said, you know, it was a very good match, and I think not one of the women looked bad throughout the match. I think they all got their equal opportunity to shine, from Roxanne and Julia, and you know, I think there was that good amount of people that didn't want Rhea to win, you know, as I think Sean said on the podcast last week, you know, it'd be nice to see what she could do outside of the main title picture. And even though she didn't win the match, I think Rhea did phenomenal. She had a great showing from all the ladder spots, took the bumps, and they looked very painful. Overall, it was a very good match, and as Brent said, Naomi was the right winner. She definitely deserves it, and her character is very good. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great that the showing that the three newish girls, if you look in there, did and all. And also Alexa had a good showing as well, which was really, really cool as well. And of course, Rhea just operates at a certain level. And obviously, when these girls, it looks at certainly the interactions with her and Stephanie in the match were outstanding. And that spot on the ladder was just insane. Like, just really, really cool. And I'm sure if you technically break it down, it's probably reasonably simple, but it just looked amazing as well. Sean Mack.
I'll be honest, I wasn't very impressed with this match. Part of it was the fact that there was still people scrambling to get to the arena, because I think there was a pretty major congestion. There normally is around LA anyway. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, the spots in this were clunky and messy, but not in like a fun car crash way that the ladder matches tend to be. Just kind of bad. Like, I think there's a spot where Julia and Roxanne were trying to smash the ladder into. They had Rhea like sandwiched in between the ladder, and they were trying to like lift up the ladder and smash it down, like a whip or something like that. And it was way too big, so it wasn't hitting her at all. And I don't know. I didn't think it was that good. I thought the spot where they did the double sunset flips on the ladder, I thought that was really cool. But other than that, there wasn't really like an awful lot to this. The crowd weren't that into it, I didn't feel, because as I said, like, some of them were still trying to get to their seat. But right winner in Naomi. Wasn't crazy about this match. I just feel sometimes, and I hate to say, but sometimes the women's stipulation matches often feel like they're just there to complement the men's. They obviously can be as good, and they have been, but just tonight wasn't, or not tonight, Saturday I should say, just wasn't it for me. But that's not saying I'm not happy with Naomi winning. I think it's she was I know, like, she was betting odds favorite, but she's kind of like a dark horse there, because you see Rhea and you see Stephanie Vaquer, and you could very obviously just, like, if you're Triple H, do the easy choice and pick them. But going with Naomi means something could happen, something exciting could happen, something different could happen, and I think Naomi could do with the boost. I think the dark horse is, they're not expected to win, but that's because I think they need to win, and they'd be very grateful to win. So I don't mind Naomi winning it. I just don't think the match was that good. But I think the men's ladder match was much better, and it did recover the stipulation for the night for me anyway.
Cool. Sean O, Lyra, Becky picking up the belt.
I think I might have said this to Sean the other day, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd probably go as far as saying this was probably the best match of the night, in my opinion anyway. I think it delivered on all levels. We've talked about in the podcast before how far Lyra has come since coming up from NXT, from being in the finals of the Queen of the Ring, and now first ever women's Intercontinental Champion. So hopefully we see a future world champion in her. But the match itself, I thought, was brilliant. I think Becky was the right winner, and I think, Brian, you said last week, maybe Bailey could have cost the match. You are half right. Bailey did return and attack Becky, but we should get into that later. I thought it was a great wee addition at the end of the match that Lyra was very hesitant to raise Becky's hand. And, after she had raised her hand, Becky said, "No, we'll do all four sides. You have to do all four sides." And I think that was kind of a slap in the face towards Lyra. But we definitely seen Lyra get her revenge after by laying Becky out. And yeah, it was a great match. Definitely probably the best match of the night for me.
Yeah, the stipulation came across just a little bit hokey, really, didn't it? It was a bit kind of like crap, really, to be honest. I'm sure they could have come up with something a little bit better than that. Brian, Dom.
Oh, so yeah, just I thought you were going to ask me.
Touch on Becky as well if you want, but
I think it was a great match. It was one of those matches where I was actually happy to be wrong on that. I know it kind of half came through then on Raw, but yeah. So Dom, the Dom match, I thought he dominated that match. All right, I'll get my coat. So yeah, no, look, he dominated the match, right? And it made me more familiar with Octagon Junior as well. I loved how the match was added. That was deadly. Yeah, all around was good. I thought it showed a more aggressive side of Dom as well. It showed a more dominating. I keep saying that now. I can't stop saying it. It showed a more kind of like dominating side of Dom. I liked it. I thought it was one of the highlights. Dom is a constant highlight for me. It's absolutely brilliant. Good work. I watching it, I did kind of think, like, if you didn't catch what happened before and you weren't entirely familiar with Octagon, it came across like if you didn't know him at all, it was a bit kind of like he was a bit like a jobber in a way. But look, it was like what, a 70-30, 60-40 match. And it did what it needed to do for Dom anyway. It showed me a more aggressive side, and we're starting to see that story arc a little bit. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. What do you reckon?
I think what I liked about it as well is that if you hadn't have tuned into Worlds Collide and you're not familiar with the AAA and the stuff they're doing there and stuff like that, you come in and you see Octagon Junior and you go, oh, who's this Octagon Junior guy? And then you might go a little bit, digging a bit deeper, and then you might get more familiar with it. So it's a nice side hustle into it as well, so it works from that point of view. Let's talk about the men's Money in the Bank match. Seth Rollins picking up the case. Sean Mack.
I'm glad to see that the I can't remember the brand of whiskey, but that sponsored ladder that they had Chad Gable and American Made do the said for my Grande
Fireball.
To help your friend with Grande Americano, please make sure to put the Fireball whiskey ladder. Advertising's going too far. We now have branded ladders. I think we now have Slim Jim tables. Just imagine someone going through my code going, oh my god, through the Slim Jim table. It just doesn't roll off the tongue, does it? Sometimes just a table or a ladder works fine. I wasn't too hot in the women's ladder match. I ended up really enjoying this match. Carnage, a big car crash everywhere. Everyone, I think, did really well and had their moments. I think there was times. I think everyone knew Seth was winning this. Penta in particular got very close a number of times, and there's a part of me thinking, "Oh my god, like they could actually make Penta win this. That'd be cool." But are they pushing him to the moon too early? But no, God comes in to cut you down. And this match, obviously, a lot more going on for it because it had Grande Americano, it had the Fireball ladder, and it also had Jacob Fatu turning his back on Solo Sikoa. Just hearing him say, "I hate you Solo," kind of messed with my brain. Every time I hear "I something Solo," it's love you.
There's a t-shirt written all over it, doesn't it? There's a t-shirt written all over it.
I'm surprised W Shop haven't churned out a shirt with "I hate you Solo" or something, or they probably will by the time this comes out. But no, absolutely brilliant. I loved, and there's even a moment where I thought El Grande Americano was going to win it because they draped the ladder, the Fireball ladder off of the normal ladder, and then he crawled up, and then he got hit with the sunset flip on it. My God, it was brutal. The right winner in Seth, because I was thinking about this today. We compared, not necessarily compared, but said that this group that Seth has could potentially be Evolution. And one thing that made Evolution cool was the guys in it, but one thing that made them legendary was the gold they held. I think gold on any end, whether it be tag gold, singles gold, or now in Seth's case, potentially world title gold, will give this group identity and give them like some polish and something to. I'm back to talk about that. I don't know about you boys. I'm very happy that we're back to back to the real world now with Gunther. But no, great ladder match, a good winner. Yeah, we'll have to see where this goes. I'm very conscious about this John Cena retirement tour with the title because, well, he's got the Punk match, but I think anyone in this company, particularly the world champions, are not safe as long as Seth Rollins has that briefcase. And the same with Naomi. There's no woman who has a title in this company who's safe with her with that briefcase. We'll have to see.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it was kind of interesting as well that we got Chad Gable on Worlds Collide and El Grande on Money in the Bank. It's kind of a little bit weird as well, but cool to say the least. Bren, tag match. The Maverick and John Cena versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. I seen Jake Paul after this match tweeted, "My brother is the best professional wrestler in the world today."
It's tremendous stuff. Logan Paul he's a credit to wrestling. He's an absolute joy to watch. Every time he's in the ring, he does something special. The drone stuff was brilliant stuff. Yeah, unbelievable stuff. The acai moonsault, lion salt, whatever you want to call it, absolutely incredible. The "We Want Truth" chants throughout the night obviously paid off then in the end. That was class, and their follow-up on Raw was even better. This match was cool. I think, again, it was one of these things that it was never not going to deliver. I thought there was going to be a cash-in, and I thought there was going to be a cash-in the following night. Because even when that match didn't go forced, even when the men's didn't go forced and it went third or fourth or whatever, I thought, because I actually completely agree with you, Niall, I don't think they can carry around that briefcase for too long before it gets a bit iffy. But this was sensational. Everybody was brilliant here, and just sent us home very happy. And obviously, the headline here is Ron Killings returns, and what he did on the next night can't be understated. Just brilliant, and I can't wait to see what they do with that.
We'll come back to you, Sean, now in a minute. I have to go to Sean Mack. Sean, I have to talk to you. John Cena's belt headshots look real weak. What are you thinking about this at the moment? Then?
I don't know. I thought this match up until the last few minutes was the most nothing, boring, average, plodding tag match ever. I know John Cena works a slow pace, but you would think having Logan and maybe not Jay, but Cody in there would brighten up. My God, it was so slow. And the thing is, the crowd are tired because we just had the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which was really good. So that they're naturally gonna take a minute to get into this. But when the match is as slow as this, it's really fucking hell. I wasn't hot on the team of John Cena and Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul's a great wrestler. I think he really showed up in this match. Like that acai moonsault to the outside was absolutely tremendous. Jey Uso still, I think John Cena and Jey Uso complement each other. And I don't mean that in a good way. I think they're great characters. In Jay's case, quite fine wrestlers. I don't mean like a fine wrestler. I mean like he's fine. And John Cena has always kind of been that. But I think because we had so much high hopes for him, and he's kind of not delivering on it when it comes to in-ring matches. Well, maybe aside from the Randy Orton match, but mostly here. Yeah, I don't know. But I will say the last couple minutes of this were absolutely fantastic. And I got half excited and half heart attack because when the guy in the black, as Niall's famous black hoodie
run in, yeah.
For a minute, I had an inkling that it could have been Travis Scott because I saw the hands. And then
I didn't even think of that.
But now he now joins Cody, and Cody does his Mr. America gimmick to show that he's.
Oh my God!
Don't joke about something like that.
He's not racist. Some of his best friends are black.
That would be an American nightmare, wouldn't
it? Yeah, but sure. No, but it was our truth. I was not expecting him to come back at all. I was going to say like now, like ever, really. I thought when he put that up, that was it. A really good surprise, and he got what he deserved. John Cena fainted him and cowardly smashed him in the face with the belt. So R-Truth gave him a taste of his own medicine, and he got pinned by Cody.
Yeah.
By Cody Rhodes. And the thing is, R-Truth didn't hesitate, and that's what Cody should have done. Do you think at Mania, if when he had the belt and John Cena was like, "Oh, don't do it before low blowing him," do you think if he just smashed his face in with the belt, we could have had Cody still being champion by now? It's something to think about. But no, a really, really hot angle to round off the show. And I think Triple H, he always says, it was part of the plan the whole time. In his head, he's like, fans like, fine, we'll bring him back, fine. But no, you can't just say, oh, we have to bring him back because people complain. No, it was all part of the plan. We're all putting smiles on people's faces, a highest grossing revenue thing. I will say, though, it seems that chanting and rallying towards something that we don't like managed to fix it. So we as fans should campaign. We need chants and signs and hashtags about Def Rebel, about cheap ticket sales, about elongating feuds.
Well, cheap ticket sales is not going to work because we know WrestleMania is now being confirmed. So cheap ticket sales is never going to work, no matter how much you complain.
Not cheap ticket sales, but not 24 figures just sitting in the seat. You know what I mean? Like, and for Mania, you can understand it, but for pissing SmackDown in Dublin,
I have a different view on this. We're going to talk about R-Truth. We're going to talk about Raw and stuff like that as well. I have a slightly different view on that. We'll come to it. And I'm not sure they should always listen to the fans. That's all I'm saying, but we'll get to it. Sean, thoughts?
As Sean said, it didn't have much hope until the last few minutes. It was kind of boring and just didn't seem to go anywhere. But obviously, with Truth coming back, Truth prevailed, and it was a brilliant ending to a boring match, I should say.
Yeah, Romy, Triple H, it's all work. I had it planned. His face told a very different story in the presser, I have to say.
Completely different story.
Triple H looked like a kid who'd been scolded in school for not doing his homework. That's how his mush looked at that presser. So I don't know. I'm not too sure. Do you think WWE will listen if we chanted about Goldberg not coming back and telling him to fuck off back to the old folks' home? We're gonna talk about this because this is something that we do definitely have to touch on. We'll go through Raw and then we'll talk about R-Truth and see where it takes us. Let's get into Raw then. Let's park money in the bank. So Raw, we had CM Punk coming out with the challenge, and interestingly enough, the most viewed segment on Raw was the R-Truth segment, not the John Cena CM Punk segment. So just to let you know that we will be touching on that as well. Bren, kick us off. AJ Styles defeating Chad Gable.
Before I touch on that, has anybody ever had as much merch released in not even 6 months through the year? We're just about 6 months through the year. John Cena has had more T-shirts in the last 6 months. I've only got so much money, and he just keeps releasing them.
Have you bought all the farewell shirts?
I can't confirm or deny that live.
This is why I get emails at 3 a.m. updating me on the latest merch available.
How much you posted?
It was. And look, before I touch on that, I want to address a comment earlier on. I think Phil Brooks selling his soul. I think that's part of the story, isn't it? He wanted to fight now, and he said, well, if you want it that bad, you're going to have to go back on your morals, and you're going to have to come to Saudi Arabia. And look, it's business at the end of the day. CM Punk is a businessman. He said he's here to make money, not friends. This makes perfect sense to me. But he could spend
the Hogan line on this. He could turn around and go, CM Punk is totally against this, but the checks are made out to Phil Brooks. It's all good. They're not the same guy.
Well, everybody knows Terry Bollea and Hulk Hogan are two very different.
It works for Hulk Hogan. Why wouldn't it work for CM Punk?
100%. Look, I thought this match was really good. Wade Barrett summed it up. The flash cash finish. Not what I expected, to be honest with you. Very cool. The only thing about it is, I get what they're trying to do. Chad Gable loses, but Americano, who's a different guy, but they reckon when he wears the mask, he wins. But what's happening with American Made? American Made, because they're all really, objectively, they're all really good. The Creed brothers are class. something. I think they had to inject that with something soon enough. And I think they need to strike, because WWE, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they don't always strike the iron when it's hot. And I think somebody, they don't want to lose momentum on this. But look, overall, these two guys would put on a good wrestling match with a sweeping brush. It was very, very good. The flash cash finish was very, very good. And I liked it. That was, I thought it was a really good opening match to Raw.
And a much needed win for AJ Styles. Because we often talk about Finn Balor as well and how much you dampen it down. Do you dampen it down to the point where you can't undampen it, if you like, and bring it back up again, you know? And AJ, yeah, absolutely, was a big one. And to get Chad Gable as well, because anyone who's picking up the win against Chad Gable at the moment must be doing really, really well, because he's just on fire at the moment.
And look, it's not a bad problem to have when you've got that many stars on the roster. And it's like, oh, well, who are we going to put over? It's not a bad problem. And to be fair to you, AJ Styles probably needed more. And I think anything Chad Gable does at the moment turns to gold.
Chad wins when he loses, even.
Great way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean O, Roxanne Perez picking up the win, advancing to the Queen of the Ring tournament.
Once again, I think this was one of those matches where nobody looked bad in. I thought it was a great way they ended the match. I think we kind of had that feeling that Roxanne would pin Liv or someone to win the match, but kind of blew up in our face a little bit. Was it Kairi Sane she pinned, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. So. And she pinned her a really good way too, actually. It was a good, solid match, and I think they got the right winner, and hopefully, Roxanne can go far. I'd kind of like to see her at least in the semi-finals or the finals anyway, so hopefully.
Yeah, continue on there as well. Bayley returned to attack Becky.
I didn't know how to feel about this one, to be honest with you. I like both women. It's another one of those situations, obviously I like both women. And it's good to see Bayley back. I think we haven't seen her since Mania, maybe. So it has been a while. And Bren called it the other day. I think he said that she'd return at Money in the Bank. We got a couple of days later, so we won't panic or worry. So we won't. She's back now, so I'm excited to see where this goes. Hopefully, I'd say it leads to Evolution. Hopefully, it's not another one of those stupid stipulations. Raise my hand. But yeah, hopefully we get a good match out of it.
Absolutely. We'll just skip over R-Truth for the moment because we're going to talk about that separately. Sean Mack, Sami Zayn picking up a big win against Braun Breaker, Penta, and Dominic Mysterio, also advancing to the King of the Ring tournament.
Honestly, I was not expecting him to win, but I'm happy he did. This is a really, really good match. The fatal four-way aspect feels a bit lazy because it feels like, oh, well, if you have 4 people in a match, we don't have to book like 6 matches, we can book 2. But it means that the tournament is kind of quick. So we have a fatal four-way match each, a semi-final, final, that's it. So I quite like that. And I like how there's actually significance to the matches or to the tournament. Last year, you got an itty-bitty cute little ring that you pose for a photo with, and then as soon as you get home, it goes in the recycling bin. You never see it or hear of it again. But there's actually stakes here. Title matches at SummerSlam for your respective brand's champion is something you'd actually want to compete for. It's something that's actually valuable and something you can actually want to work towards. So I'm interested to see where we go from here. I'm not sure if we have the Fatal 4-Way for SmackDown. I'm not sure who's going to be in it. But Sami is a good choice. The fact that they're doing it in Saudi kind of makes me think they might push for Sami to win. Now, saying that, I don't know who else is in any of the other matches.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But no, good to see good old Sami Zayn to win. Doesn't do Braun Breaker or Penta any disservice. Only does Dominic a disservice to the Judgment Day because he gets a thick ear for it. Because they're all very successful wrestlers who win all of their matches every week and week in and week out. Definitely not a case of the pot calling the kettle black. Finn Balor giving out to Dominic for losing matches. Like, oh, come on, I can't believe you lost that match. Meanwhile, Finn Balor hasn't won a match since the Stone Age. But no, I'm getting off track. Good win for Sami Zayn.
Yeah. Sean Liv Morgan taking out Nikki Bella.
I nearly cried. Let's be honest. Do you know when it happened? I'm surprised I didn't wake my parents up because I yelled at the TV. I'll be honest, I yelled.
Do you notice how they were in her hometown and she got like little to no pop and there wasn't a single man cheering?
Yeah. And when she said, Phoenix, I'm home, all you hear is the crowd booing. I thought that was so sad.
All right.
So sad. Obviously great to see Nikki Bella back. I think we know how big of a fan I am of the Bella twins in general. But yeah, great to see her back. And, obviously she went through a list of names of great women on the roster. I think we got Stephanie Vacquet, and Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Some notable mentions and great choices, in my opinion. And Liv Morgan came out giving out, why isn't my name mentioned? That she's the greatest women's wrestler in the world, and all that mumbo jumbo. It's like religion. It's whatever you want to believe. But as soon as she hit Nikki with the Oblivion, do you know what? My world got turned upside down. I'll be dead honest here. As I said, I yelled at the TV. So, hopefully we can see Brie possibly return. I see Nikki's advertised for Raw next week, so hopefully we can maybe get a Brie return and get that tag title match for Evolution.
Bram, before you chomp down on your tongue there, a show of hands. Are we Nikki Bella or Brie Bella? I'm Nikki Bella. I'm not Brie Bella.
I am not Nikki Bella, and I'm not Brie Bella either. But
but if you had to, yeah,
it's Brie Bella hands down because she's more authentic. She has that little tiny bit more authenticity than that. I just
the other one though has that good breakup money.
She has that good breakup money, and yeah, she came out. They tried to pipe some crowd noise in. That went away very quick. The commentators way overhyped her. There you go. Yeah. Look, here's the thing. Nikki Bella to me represents a time when people went for a piss break watching women's wrestling, and 100%. She's not talented. You if you want to really see Nikki and Brie Bella at their more authentic, AJ Lee cut a promo a good few years ago on Raw, and their reaction, she told the absolute truth. She says they're overacting, bad actresses, terrible wrestlers. Reality star wannabes should not be anywhere near the telly based on the quality. In fact, they made a big mistake putting her in the ring with Liv Morgan, because it really showed us how little talent Nikki Bella has and how much better the talent is today than what the women do. What the women are doing, they're on fire. Let me tell you something. If Nikki Bella was in that Money in the Bank match and that opener, that match wouldn't have been as good. She would have brought down the quality, the overacting, the screaming. It's terrible to watch. Like I said, she represents a time when women's wrestling was embarrassing. Absolute embarrassing.
Sorry to cut you off, Brian. Do you remember the line in that promo where you're talking about with AJ Lee where she said talent isn't sexually transmitted?
Great line.
And can another thing as well. Here's how bad this was. They had to put her in a segment with Io Sky, and Io Sky, it looked like a hurt Io Sky to say you paved the way. She might have paved the way. WWE might have looked at them back in the day and said, look, that's as low as it's going to go. Anything we produce after the Bellas is going to be much better. And
Io Sky was already well established before she came to WWE.
But I'm talking about in the world of WWE, right?
So she was winning belts before when Nikki was gone.
But that's the point. This is when Nikki was gone. Nikki represents versus what Io Sky represented, which means Nikki Bella paved the way for nobody with talent. All she did was make anybody look good. And she's just not, objectively, she's not a good wrestler. She's not good on the mic. She very much reminds me of, do you know what? Sasha Banks is a lot better than Nikki Bella, and that's saying something.
Who?
Even on the mic, Sasha Banks. Oh,
Mercedes
Monique, Monique, whatever her name is this week.
Monique?
I don't know. I don't, because I can't stand her. She also, to me, while she's had a few matches, I just don't like her. But look, there's no room.
Sean's
Nikki
well
Bella.
and up here. Calm down. Sean's well and up here.
I just have one more thing to say. I have one more thing to say, right?
Fearless, huh?
Isla Dawn, Blair Davenport, and Sonia Deville got released. While Sonia Deville wasn't perfect and they had their flaws, Jesus Christ, release them through to bring back Nikki Bella. If that's a sign for the future, you can bring back the piss breaks. And I'm sorry for going off there. It just really, I was watching Raw, it came up, I was pissed. You screamed at the screen when she got attacked. I nearly smashed me telly when she came on. And that's, do you know what? That's a bit far. I'm sorry for saying that, but I'm just pissed off with that.
I feel the same with Liv Morgan. I pretend to need to take a piss every time she comes on the screen. I'm like, shit.
Don't hold back, lads. Get it all off your chest.
But you can't. But you can't do that. But you can't, because Liv Morgan's going to put on a good show. Liv Morgan's going to be good. She held the women's division last year. Nikki Bella has never held. The only thing Nikki Bella has ever held is the women's division down. And let's face it, she only got to where she got. Well, I can't say it live anyway.
I wouldn't say it's because of John Cena.
No. It's actually a bit established that she had a few wrestlers before John Cena, and look, there's nothing wrong with that. Sow your oats, do what you need to do, but don't do it to hold other wrestlers down. AJ Lee was spot on in that promo, and if you look at their reaction, I'm sorry, I'm going off, Sean. I apologize. This is not directed at you directly.
Don't
apologize. I just can't stand that type of wrestling. I can't stand it. The screaming. It was like watching a bad tennis match when they were in the ring. Just screaming, and then bad wrestling. Then they hand them a microphone. Get a grip. Not a chance. Can't listen to them. Can't watch them. Not good. That's my opinion. And that's my hot take.
If anyone's listening, can we just drop around to Brand there now and do a wellness check to make sure he's okay?
I need the Xanax after that.
Rat Pack is a kind of coolish move.
That's it. That's Brand's show done.
Get Brand the wellness check. Let
me take some comments here and then we'll get into it.
How did I get a rage meter before Bren? That's fucking ridiculous.
Because you were raging before Bren.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I was raging at like stuff that's actually terrible. That like
Sean, one for you, and you'll probably agree with me here. Obviously, some of Cena's stuff at the moment has been kind of box ticking last time stuff and all that. Why couldn't WWE hold off on Cena versus Punk for SummerSlam instead of at the Dustpan pay-per-view?
Yeah,
I would say that probably the CM Punk situation is going to probably run on through the summer and not end that Crown Jewel. That would be my take.
Yeah, I'm not hot on that, to be honest. I think it would be so much better if they did it at SummerSlam, because SummerSlam is a big show. It's the first time ever that they're doing it, hopefully the last time ever that they're doing it 2 nights. So it needs something to deliver. And John Cena and CM Punk is a match everyone wanted. When A, John Cena came back, and B, when he announced his retirement tour. We all lost our shit when they faced off in the Rumble. We all lost our shit when they faced off in the Chamber. Now, doing it in Saudi, cutting the tires, taking the air out of the fans. I don't know how much that is, because Saudi are like, we want something big for our show, and how much it is John Cena ruining wrestling. I don't know. But then again, like, think about people going to Saudi now. Sami Zayn used to not go to Saudi because of his beliefs. Aleister Black couldn't go to Saudi at all because I think there's something about his tattoos. Some like religion. I don't know the full story, but it was something about his tattoos that was apparently offensive.
Just put him in the Mr. Iguana suit, he'd be all right.
Yeah. I'm saying, or wear a bodysuit like the women, like normalize wearing bodysuits.
Can I just come in on the Cena thing there? Do you know the way his work isn't up to scratch and all that? Is that not exactly why he's retiring? Like he said that. He said, "Look, I'm not what I used to be," and I think we have to give allowances to that. He's given us so much, and look, the next year he's not going to put on 5-star classics, and I don't like star ratings for matches, so I shouldn't have said that. But really,
Bren Meltzer.
Don't even go there. But I think some allowances should be made for John Cena. Look, this is exactly why he's retired. He's missing a step in the ring. So I think we might be being a bit harsh on him that way. I'm a big Cena fan, have been down since day one. 2002 since the ruthless aggression. So that's just what I think.
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I know what you mean, and that is part of the reason. I think he did an interview with the Stephanie thing, and he said like there was lifts and stuff at the gym, like squats and like record things that he used to be able to do that he can't do merely because his body is so beaten up. But the thing is, Cena was always, yeah. I will say about Cena, like I was gonna say I love that man. Maybe not now, considering that little stunt he pulled at Elimination Chamber, but he's always been my favorite. But he's always been more about. There's like people always say like you can have the best moves in the world, but what people will remember is the connection. And John Cena was always more of a connection than moves. He often had those, as people always said, the 5 moves of doom. But you can work with that. And it's not necessarily like, well, he's shite now, so he has to retire. And that's kind of why his tour is bad. No, it's because he's, been pissing around with The Rock, who's not even asked to show up, pissing around with Travis Scott, pissing around with Logan Paul.
Sorry.
Winning huge matches with help of said gobshite Travis Scott. Winning with not even his finisher, having nothing matches, not being around enough. Like, even though this is a farewell tour, like obviously, if I had my way, I'd have John Cena on every episode of Raw and SmackDown, in ring at points, and at every pay-per-view. But he's a busy man, he's older, and as we said, his body's beaten up, so he can't do the full-time schedule anymore. And I'm totally fine with that, He's entertained me for so many years, and he's given me so many highs and lows as a child and an adult. So, like, the very least he can do is rest. They just need to do better. The heel turn was executed incredibly, but everything after that has not been great. So, get him in the ring more, have him work more serious matches. He can still be serious and be a heel, and get him away from rappers, get him away from YouTubers, and get him away from people who aren't even going to show up on the night. So
it's very much damage control now after what happened, and the fact that The Rock isn't going to follow through. And I think with the time, they're doing the best of what they have. And just on him being busy, if you haven't seen Peacemaker season 1, watch it. It's so good, and I can't wait for season 2 coming in August.
And speaking of films, I saw Mission Impossible 2 nights ago, and one of the trailers they showed beforehand was The Smashing Machine, the new marker biopic that stars The Rock. And it made me go, oh my God, that's The Rock. But then it made me very angry thinking about everything that happened at Mania and everything that led up. So I need to get that off my chest. Rock, if you're not even going to be asked to show up, just don't show up. If you're not going to have big plans for a huge moment, don't do the huge moment.
I heard it was his idea to bring back R-Truth. He got on the phone and he said, hey, listen, I want R-Truth back. So he came in and fixed it again. Or at least that's his side of the story anyway.
Sounds like Hogan.
So, folks, make sure you're liking and subscribing to this Pro Wrestling Weekly therapy session here. Make sure these guys are getting it all off their chests tonight. I was thinking I was coming into a nice upbeat wrestling show tonight. Everyone was on it. And all.
Not around here, partner.
Not a chance.
No.
I'm going to have to make some chamomile tea.
We don't do that here.
You may need on a hot water bottle the way things are going.
Bottle of Jemmy in the press.
Yeah, and you'll need the whole bottle and nothing mixed with it. Gunther defeating Jey Uso to win the World Heavyweight title. Sean Mack, take us off on this one.
Common sense has prevailed.
Not if you're
the
a
Yeet Man
owner.
With the 5-hour entrance is no more. Big Daddy Gunther himself, the ring general, the man who wants to make the sport sacred, is back. This is my WWE that's coming back.
This WWE is doing me dirty. Ron Cena shirts.
Yeah.
Main event, Jey Uso.
One of the best thing about this match, Jey Uso lost and they had his kid do the entrance in the front row.
That's harsh.
And he got choked out. He didn't even tap or got pinned or anything. Like he didn't even tap out. He just passed out. So he had him pass out from his kid.
Probably refused to tap out.
Yeah. No,
upset at losing the belt.
Yeah. That was a protest for truth. I don't know. But no, I absolutely...
You might take the belt off me, but I ain't tapping for you, H.
No. Gunther is a one-of-a-kind wrestler, the last of a dying breed. I absolutely love him. And I think it's right for him to win because it's kind of hard for him to be imposing like he is when he doesn't have a belt. He was NXT UK World Champion for, I can't remember how many days, but they said a statistic. I can't remember how much it was, but for a large percent of his run in the WWE, he's held a title. And that was what made him so imposing, just as much as, the promos and the music and the chops. And Jey Uso was yielding out great entrances, but he wasn't yielding out good promos or good matches, really. Some his fault, some not his fault. So I think it's a fresh new start. But then again, it does make... Mania was in April, right? We're in June. He held the belt for like 2 months, which is kind of pathetic.
It's
and
50 odd days. 50 odd days.
55 days.
Yeah, 55 days. So like a month and a bit, almost 2 months. Like that's absolutely mad. But no, good to see Gunther get the win. A good episode as well. I don't know if I agree with it, but I've heard people saying this is probably one of the best episodes since Raw has gone on Netflix.
It's like it's not a bad show actually.
Yeah.
No, like it wasn't terrible.
Pretty solid.
Like,
pretty solid. And was this the first? I read online that this was the first Raw that the world title changed hands since Big E cashed in 2021.
Really?
Which is a cool statistic. And actually, just whilst we're on the subject, I wanted Big E to end Cena's career years ago. That's how I wanted it. Big E, absolute phenomenal talent. It's such a shame, but yeah, that was the last time the title changed hands. That's what I read online. Says the net, as Matt Hardy would say.
To paraphrase John Cena, we have caught and compromised to a permanent end. Main event Jey Uso.
Wow, profound.
But no, good to see Gunther with the belt again, and a good way to end the show.
I thought the
man to Osama bin Laden, by the way. I'm just, he's a bit of a dose.
I like with Gunther the way as well. There's a kind of a new and old school blend. I like when guys win with sleeper holds and stuff like that and all. It kind of somewhat legitimizes it, even though we know and stuff like that. But it was kind of cool and to see him go out that way as well. It was quite it was interesting to say the least.
And they covered Jey as well because they kept emphasizing how much he's been working and how much he's been beat down. And that was nice to see as well, how they covered him. And just on what you just said, Niall, as well, I actually don't think Gunther has an official finisher. Well, I know he did, but now it's because he's won with power bombs, mainly sleeper holes, and he's won with different moves. So yeah, that's deadly. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. Classic.
Yeah.
I'd 4 kids in the shop on Monday picking up Jey Uso jerseys and Yeet glasses. I felt for them on Tuesday.
Oh, fuck them.
I felt for them on Tuesday.
When you grow up, you'll see Gunther is the way.
Don't worry, folks. We're on it. Opening match Jey Uso shirts incoming. Don't worry. We will get there. Yeah, but it was very
John Cena t-shirts. Wrestling Mania, third floor, Stevens Green. Doesn't get any better than this. Grace of all time.
A picture tonight. I got in Terry Funk and Sabu today, and the shirt is amazing.
I actually seen that t-shirt. It's ridiculously good.
I saw it on Pro Wrestling Tees ages ago. It's incredible. Might just have to pull the trigger.
Right. Let's talk about R-Truth. I think we can very much believe that it wasn't a work and that it was a cover-up. Are we all in agreement on this, or are we?
Absolute cover-up. Triple H, you said it best. His face told a completely different story than what he was saying. And I think in this day and age, he should have just acknowledged the fact that they messed up. I'd have more respect. So, yeah, a bit of an out of character move from Triple H, in my opinion, because I think he gets a lot of slack online for what he's doing and how he's doing it. I actually think Triple H is doing a brilliant job, and I think people are picking on the little things. But look what he inherited from the last regime to where he's taking it today. And look, this was a mess up on Triple H, and I think he should have been accountable, and he should have just said it.
I wonder. Samuel Truth Jackson, let's go. There we go. I have a view on this, lads. I'll give you my view on it first, and then you guys can tell me where you think this is all going to go. R-Truth, as we know, last week or the week before got let go, whatever it was. We spoke about it on the podcast. It was a massive wave, an outcry from every podcast, every wrestling fan, all those people who never have owned a piece of R-Truth merchandise in their life, which is all good. And we can see why they were calling for him and all this kind of stuff. But I have a feeling that the people that poured this outcry and stuff like that didn't necessarily want Ron Killings with the haircutting and all that kind of stuff, that they actually wanted R-Truth back because that's what they kind of connected with.
Yeah,
So
I think a lot of people are probably not familiar with Ron Killings. Like a lot of the young people that watch it today, they're more familiar with R-Truth, and that's where their affinity is. Go on, sorry, I didn't mean to cut over you again.
No, it's not that. It's just I kind of feel that the outpouring and the wave to get him rehired, or whatever way we want to call this, was more about R-Truth than it was about the evolution of into Ron Killings, if you like, or back into Ron Killings after so many years. We've had so many years of this guy, you know, with comedy sketches and cropping up and being the company guy, and, you know, kind of being that kind of fan favorite at that kind of level and all that kind of stuff and all. What do we make of this? Where is this going to go? I can understand with it being maybe his last year or 2 years or whatever it is, and he wants to legitimize the Ron Killings, and there were stories out there about, you know, going forward for WrestleCons or whatever it is, and after WWE, what he can do with the brand and the name and all that kind of stuff and all. But what are they gonna do with him now? And like, what was the old cut the hair, and was this the caterpillar becoming the butterfly, but not necessarily? Or where do you think this is gonna go? Sean Mack, talk to me. Where do you think this is gonna go?
Well, first of all, I was upset about R-Truth, and I have this. So I'm not hearing this. Oh, you didn't have any merchandise for
You only bought that on Saturday in a charity shop. Don't lie.
I had that since I was like 6 or something. I got it with a John Cena.
How long did it take you to find it?
Did you see
at the bottom of which box was that in the attic?
Did you see me briefly go off camera while Bren was talking there?
No. I mean before it arrived in your room for the podcast.
No, I have probably can't see a locker there. It's where I keep all my figures in. And I had to go to the bottom because this is it's retro. I mean, look at that. It's got the smile. It's got the black jeans.
Same physique.
Same
for the last 20 years.
With R-Truth on them. No, I definitely think I'm definitely with everyone when I think that WB made this decision. Everyone got very upset. I'm not just talking about podcasters and fans. Like, talent backstage were absolutely furious.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's a bit like I think of it like Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania. Everyone wanted him to win the Rumble and go far, apart from WWE, but they caved in and gave it to him. And they say, "Oh, it was all part of the plan, you know, just putting smiles on face." No, it wasn't. You got pressured into it because people rejected the bullshit that you tried to give them and wanted something else. Everyone rejected.
But is this with what we know now and what's happening and what's unfolding and where it's going to go? We don't really know. Is it the right move? Like, should Carlito have just thrown the apple in the bin, showed up on Raw and shaved the afro, or what's the story here? Like,
I was thinking that, like, how come we were all equally pissed and upset about Carlito, but there's no,
but not as vocal.
No, but still still like disappointed and shocked. But there's no, I don't see any indication of him coming back. But the thing with R-Truth is he, like, as I said last week, if you were to pick anyone to be a lifer, someone who wrestles forever, and then when they retire goes into producing, goes into managerial work, goes into even being on like the kickoff panel for pay-per-views or something, I would absolutely pick R-Truth.
Yeah, so him just getting let go. We had this guy got released, okay? Then we had this massive wave of love, right? Massive wave of love. It shouldn't have happened. How disappointed people were, as you said, from office staff to wrestlers to fans to maybe people into his music, whatever it is. Everyone, every single podcast was going on about it, the love and the affection. And then what came back was Death Row Records R-Truth. What's the story like? Where like this is not what people were expecting to come back. They were expecting to see R-Truth maybe back in the Judgment Day Clubhouse. They were expecting maybe Ron Cena to rock up. They were expecting whatever it was. And instead we get like straight out of Compton, cut the braids, the whole thing. Here we go. Pull out the AK-47s. Ron Killings is back.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I think it'd be weird if they brought him back as R-Truth and pretended nothing happened. Because, like, this didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a case of, oh, he was gone, but he's back now. It was, we let him go.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want him.
We sacked him on Monday and he was on SmackDown, like.
Yeah, then everything really wanted. But then the thing is, R-Truth, you would see the comedy stuff, he can actually go. He's very competent in ring. So a new look and not a new name, but a new attitude, I think could do him good because he's actually a very good wrestler.
But there's a story there as well. There is a story there. I mean,
and I will say, I hope his hair gets fixed because you can see in the graphic above, seeing in Punk, there's a bit coming out the left that looks quite shocking. I know he just did it on the spot, but like,
yeah. But the story that's coming out is kind of like, I don't know. It's like if you go to buy something and you end up with something different. You know what I mean? And you're a little bit disappointed. Like if the kid sends the parent into the shop to buy an ice cream and he comes out with a Mars bar. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean? And I just think, listen, there's no doubting the guy's talent. There's no doubting how he can pivot and what he can pull off and the things he can do. But this kind of feels like it's pivoting to the conditions that he wanted in the contract that have been kind of leaking a little bit and where he sees this going over the next 2 years. And it kind of felt like this was kind of like nearly an ends to a means. And he kind of held the company a little bit over a barrel to kind of get what he wanted. Because as far as we know, he was offered a contract. Okay, the money might have been a little bit different. But I mean, if you're getting paid the money that these guys are getting paid to sit in the background and every so often pop up with a comedy skit, it's good money. It's good money and it's not to be sneered at. And I just think, I don't know, this just kind of, to me, just felt a little bit weird. And I kind of don't know where it's going to go.
Where it's going to go, I don't know. But I think the arc is there. Like he lost, like for me, the story is there. He lost his job and it took him losing his job to realize his value. It took him losing his job. This is the story that I think they're going to go with, to realize he had forgotten who he was and all the comedy. He used to want to be loved and liked by everybody. Now he's in it for him. And that's the direction I think they're going to go with. And I think that's not a bad direction at all. And if the crowd support keeps up, we could do something brilliant there. We could have, we could put him in the title picture again. Maybe even win. I don't know. It just depends on where they take it. But for me, the arc is there. If that's what I focus on anyway. I think bringing him back as a comedy character, and they could even use that as well to turn him into a bad guy if they need to shift. Yeah, I held the company up. I held the company up because I don't care about you. I don't care about you, and I don't care about you. To me, they've opened it up a bit to allow themselves to go in either direction. And I think the moment was lovely on Raw. I thought it was brilliant, and I think you put it a nice way. Caterpillar becomes a butterfly, and that was the realization when he got sacked. That's just what I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems to me. Do we feed into this story as well? How do we feel about this whole Rock Triple H thing and this thought that potentially Triple H could be gone out of the company in 18 months or 2 years or whatever it is? And that slowly by slowly they're kind of undermining him a little bit. And you know, I do say it, like at that press conference, H's face told a very different story to what the lips were saying, I have to say. And this just in my opinion as well. Sean, what do you think of this? Do you think there's credence behind this stuff that Coachman's going on about?
It's weird to know. You know, as you said, you know, Triple H's face did say a lot different. And in the past few months, or the time that he's, you know, been behind creative and making all these decisions, there has been a few screw ups, and there haven't been light screw ups or small screw ups. They've been quite big ones. So could he be gone in the next few months, year, 2 years, possibly? But as for R-Truth's storyline, I don't know where it goes. It's obviously we're very early on into it, so at the moment it seems that bit lost. But you know, he has time to find himself with his new contract, hopefully. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Can you believe these guys? I have my figure from 1999. That's how big a Ron Killens R-Truth fan I am.
Yeah, well, I'm a child.
26 years ago, I bought a figure. I love this guy.
Old man yells at cloud.
Jesus.
I know. No, it's all right. That's cool. But
that was a low blow.
But even then, you don't need a piece of merchandise to show your love for a wrestler.
Yes, you do. I'm a shop owner.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was wearing a Mike Austin shirt last week. He doesn't have any merch.
Well, he does because you wore his shirt.
That was from tpublic.com. That was
we don't plug the
You're
competition.
Some fan.
We don't plug the competition here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm that big a fan. I bought a shirt off someone that never gives the guy a cent.
Well, you find me Mike Awesome merch after and send me.
I can't. I can't. Yeah. So there you go.
He doesn't have pro wrestling tees. He doesn't have any archived merch in WWE. All his ECW stuff is only available in like elephant sizes for maybe 3/4 of the price of what it would cost to sit in the 3 Arena for SmackDown. But I'm saying, like, you can still like him, and he's great, and him getting fired was a very stupid thing, because of the service, and also like the service he gives, and just to be thrown away like he's nothing. That's one thing I always have an issue with the WWE firings. So good to see him back. As I said earlier, let's now challenge the rage and enthusiasm that we had about R-Truth getting fired, that made him come back in other matters, such as Def Rebel, such as the price of tickets, such as WrestleMania being the same place 2 years in a row, such as TKO, such as just trying to think what else.
Listen. We created the wave and we got our truth back. Don't be asking the impossible.
Yeah.
Now, you know.
And can we?
You're going into areas there like that tidal wave in San Andreas with the Rock.
Yeah. And can we please, God, get rid of 3-hour SmackDowns? Make it 2 hours. Don't fix what is not broken.
It'll just lead to more releases because it'll be less time on TV for people. You're
Shit.
costing people their jobs now.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. They've got enough money.
There we go.
Yeah.
Romy's all the way in anyway. He reckons the magic bullet is ready. This is JFK levels for Triple H. It's coming. It's coming. We know it's coming. There we go. Where's the love for Valhalla and Carlito? Oh, never mind. They're shite.
No, love for Carlito. Valhalla is shite, though.
Valhalla's not bad. Her character was
very
terrible. But if you look back at her independent stuff, she's actually quite good.
See, is this a case of be careful what we wish for?
I think so.
What do you mean? As in,
like getting rid of Triple H. So if Triple H goes, who goes into that seat in your mind?
I don't understand the hate for Triple H. And to be honest, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think wrestling websites get a bit bored sometimes and they make headlines up and then it gathers a bit of steam. And
so let's play devil's advocate here. Let's suppose he was going. Let's suppose we heard today Triple H is leaving WWE after SummerSlam. Who goes into that seat?
I feel like they'd shove someone from TKO in that seat, like someone we probably haven't heard of.
I know, but you can't do that for the role that he maintains. You know what I mean? Like you can't. Yeah, this can't be a Dana White thing or a. This has.
It has to be associated.
Match of the night was the men's ladder match. They all got 50k. Congratulations! Can you imagine that at the end of every pay-per-view?
Yeah, the bonuses and all. Yeah. What about? I mean, Triple H going as well. How do you think that would impact on Shawn down in NXT as well? Is there a solidarity card there that will be played?
Maybe, but if The Rock is going to do that to John Cena, not even show up, what do you think he's going to do when he's in charge of the company?
But Shadow, I know where you're coming from on Triple H, but who goes into that seat? That's really what I'm asking. As a kid, I had no WWE figures. I was glued to the PS2 Star Wars Battlefront 2. My son was playing it yesterday, actually.
I mean, you do have to remember The Rock's daughter Ava is the general manager of NXT. So, you know, and obviously with The Rock being on the TKO board now.
Yeah, but she's down there with Shawn Michaels and stuff like that.
For how long though? But could we see a move?
Can we think of any names that would go in there instead of Triple H at the moment? My head is at a blank.
I'm thinking Nick Khan, maybe.
Who?
Nick Khan.
But Nick could have made that move before now.
Mm.
He could have made that move when all the other controversial stuff was coming out.
I'd say someone from TKO who you've never seen in your life, or someone from WWE you've never seen in your life.
Yeah. But I think they need Triple H because Triple H has that association. Triple H was the guy behind NXT when it was amazing. And I think we're jumping on Triple H a bit much here, but I can't think of anybody more suitable for the role at the moment. The Rock hasn't got time. Nick Khan, no, I just don't see it. So The Rock's daughter Ava, Jesus, I think we're going into AEW territory there. If I'm honest with you.
No. Jeremy Borash over Sean. No. Scott Demore. Maybe in NXT.
It's not a bad show, actually.
Actually,
Scott Demore's not a bad show. He got a bit of traction when he did
not for the main shows. Whatever about NXT, not for the main shows. Like
I
if
think
Sean
he's
was
more
focused. Yeah, I think
on
so,
MLP at the moment, getting it off the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, this one that came out as well. A load of hires came in as well, which is kind of weird when you're firing people and then hiring people. These are the new hires that have come in, including Scott's son came in, Mark Henry's son came in. So that's a kind of weird conundrum as well, because obviously Mark Henry was up in arms on Busted Open Radio about R-Truth being let go. And then the following week his son gets hired. It's an interesting dynamic. Interesting.
All these already look like WWE names, so I'm wondering what their names are going to be.
Big up, Andrew. Good to see you, pal.
Well, speaking of names, there was a new name this week, but I suppose we'll get to that. But look, we're not going to know 70 to 80% of these people. They're going to just go disappear in the background. Do you remember they took on the amateur wrestler dude, and I actually thought he looked really good, and I'm not sure what happened, but he just fizzled out. I think he might have had a bit of an attitude. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think if they bring in 10 or 15, what's a good hit rate? 4, 5, maybe.
Yeah.
5 at a stretch.
If lucky. Yeah.
3.
Mark Henry's always crying another Rikishi. Absolutely.
It
was just an interesting dynamic. Let's talk about this guy. He seems very confused. So just over a week ago, we had I would take a bullet for AEW. AEW is better than WWE and all this kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. Then the following week cuts a promo. Everything around here is shit. You're the guy that's bringing this promotion down. You have the belt under hostage, blah, 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 blah. Sean Mack, Will Ospreay, seems a confused character at the moment, no?
Should probably just relax. He's doing fine as he is. He doesn't need to drag other people down, and doesn't do him or AEW's image any good. You should just focus on your own thing.
Yeah, just focus on taking the bullet. Don't focus on shooting it.
Yeah, and AEW is not a bad product, right? So you can still, if you promote AEW and be like, oh, WB, they're doing really good stuff now, but we're focusing on ourselves, that's fine. But just saying we smoke them and everything, and I take a bullet for AEW and all that, like it's a bit. I understand him taking the bullet. I have no issue with that, but it's, I don't know, it's a bit of a pain. That was one of my issues with AEW initially. They would always say we're not a competitor, we're not WWE, but they'd spend all their time taking the piss out of WWE, and WWE would never. It's not like Nitro and Raw in Monday Night Wars; they were constantly taking shots. WWE would never really take a shot at them. So it kind of felt a bit desperate and a bit kind of.
It just seems a bit disjointed, doesn't it, between the cutting room and then what walks out to the ring. Somewhere between the gorilla position and the ring, the narrative gets a little bit skewed as to what the story is they want to tell.
Yeah. I absolutely love Ospreay, but I don't think if he focused more on making AEW good, which he has, and less about shooting himself in the foot about the competition, then I think it'd be fine. But then again, it'd be one less segment for us to talk about. So
maybe he might be coming to the realization that maybe he should have went. Maybe I should have went to WWE. Maybe he's singing the WWE song now, maybe, or something. Is his contract coming up for renewal soon or something like that? Yeah.
What would his name be?
No, but it's seriously inconsistent. The Dynamite 4 hours tonight. I seen that another 4-hour show, and every second week seems to be a special 4-hour show. There's only so many. There's only so many times you can do that. Even with WWE's pay-per-views from WrestleMania, I feel like we've had a pay-per-view every single week, or a 4-hour to 6-hour show from AEW.
The last month has seemed really intense wrestling-wise across the board.
It's insane. So like, I don't.
All WWE and AEW fanboys need to shut the fuck up with these jabs and give us a product we can watch. It's like being back in secondary school saying my girl is hotter than your girl. Yeah, it's
the tribalism is very.
But see, that's okay if that's the narrative and it's my girl is hotter than your girl. Not if you go out the next week then and go, well, actually, no, your girl's way hotter than my girl. you know, and you're telling conflicting stories. That's the issue for me. But yeah, kind of weird. Mariah May, Blake Monroe, Sean.
It's
Oh,
it's as I think I've seen over Twitter. It's unexpected. I knew we were going to get a name change, but I don't think anyone kind of expected this. I think when I hear Blake Monroe, I don't know why the name Blake Lively comes to my head. Ryan Reynolds, very good looking wife. Hopefully Mariah May isn't as difficult as her. Yeah, it's great to see Mariah May in NXT. I think she can do wonders for the
only this week. Next week, then she doesn't.
yeah. You never know. It's start of a new day. You never know. But it's not a bad name change. Like, to be fair, once we look at the lists of new wrestlers and some of their ring names, they're not particularly great. There wasn't much thought put into them, but this is actually a solid name, and I kind of would have preferred Mariah May with May spelled Mae, but I can see WWE kind of wanted to get away from that, just their history with AEW, I should say. Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty decent name, so it is.
Sean Mack, how important is it? The consistency of the name and stuff like that, or will people just get over this pretty quick and just move on and get on with it?
I don't know what it is about real names or good new names that WWE are so repulsed and challenged by. Now, saying this, I don't think Blake Monroe is absolutely like soul crushing. I think she has a niece or a nephew called Blake, and Monroe is named after Marilyn Monroe, so it's kind of clever. But then again, there was nothing wrong with Mariah May. But then again, I was complaining about Gunther. I was complaining about JD McDonough. I was complaining about Ricky Saints and all these names. And then legit after a week, I just get used to it. And I just go, oh yeah, JD McDonough. Oh yeah, Gunther. Oh yeah, Blake Monroe. So I'm sure it will stick. This thing with names, it's always a shock when they first come out, but they stick very quickly. And it's not that big of a deal. But again, like, there's nothing wrong with her real name. There's people who wrestle by their real name. Like, what's who cares? Like,
it's probably a merchandise copyright and control kind of thing.
Imagine. So maybe if that's the thing, just pick a good name. But Blake Monroe is not awful, so we'll have to see where it goes.
Hey, it might fit with WrestleMania heading back there next year. It's all good. Right, I've one last one that I want to touch on, which is Baron Corbin. Was doing a lot of spouting. He doesn't seem too happy these days for some reason. He was on a podcast talking about Truth's release and all that kind of stuff, and how this would have never happened on Vince's shift, and like as if Vince was the golden child and never sacked anyone in his life. So I did a bit of digging, and I got the actual the stats and the figures. And he's talking absolute garbage. So there you go. So yeah, Baron
He rates himself. He rates himself way too high. He does, and so do many other people. This lad was mid card at best, and he always was. And he's cool. I like him. There's something cool about him, but he's talking absolute drivel.
And even when he was happy, he was sad.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And like, look, I think he was one of these guys that was overhyped. And honestly, I never seen him as any more than mid-carder. And he sees himself, he reckons he should be the top guy. And I suppose, look, if you're going to be in the sport, you should always see yourself as the top guy. But I think there's room to be realistic. Look at your limitations. You don't look like a top guy. You are never going to be a top guy. You never will be a top guy. Sorry, I'm going on again. But look, he's talking drivel.
I just thought listening to him when he was like, Vince would have never sacked Root. And I was thinking, do you know the list of wrestlers that Vince has sent home and sacked in comparison to R-Truth?
And for the reasons as well. And for the like Vince has sacked people over sneezing.
Yeah.
Like that's a fact. Look that up. Vince has sacked people just because he didn't like the way they looked.
Even for prolonged handshakes in some cases.
100%.
There we go. I don't know. I thought he was talking dross. Baron Corbin is as entertaining as a dog scratching its hole on the carpet. That drag effect with the legs up, throw me, yeah. Nice.
And I feel like, sorry to cut you off, Niall. I kind of feel when he was tag team champion with Braun Breaker, I think it was good, but it was kind of that feeling as, it's as good as it's gonna get,
Yeah, the way you watch two people and straight away you go, he's a superstar and he's a passenger.
Yeah.
Nikki Bella, Liv Morgan. Nikki Bella, passenger, Liv Morgan, superstar. Do you know what, Niall? Spot on. What
a good
great
TD
example.
Doesn't hold a grudge.
I disagree with that. Sad Corbin was unbelievably funny. Big up,
tremendous.
To be fair, he was funny. He's just not as good as he thinks he is.
That's throwing the can at the wall to open it.
In over his head.
Right, Sean, give us a breakdown. OTT contenders and what's coming up and what's the latest goings on.
Yeah, I'll just give a real quick run through because I know we're tight on time here. But Contenders 26th edition of OTT's up and coming shows. See the stars of today, or no, the stars of tomorrow today. Is that the phrase? I saw that in the post. I can't remember. But see guys who are young, who are
together
be
forever.
Together forever, yeah. A lot of people, a lot of the big stars in OTT cut their teeth in Contenders. And they're always really nice little fun shows to watch. So to give you a run through, the first match was a number one contendership for the OTT tag titles, in which BDE defeated Matthew Smith and Cian Noonan. Now, Sean Guinness, who's Matthew Smith's tag partner on Socially, is injured. Apparently quite badly injured. They're saying it could be lucky if we get him back by maybe the middle of next year. So So Matthew Smith is on his own for the time being. And he met Cian Noonan and said, I want to team up with you. I think it'd be a good team. And you can trust me because I held the tag titles for a year. We can work together. And Cian Noonan said, fine, bit reluctant. To talk about can they coexist, they absolutely could not coexist. They were bickering and arguing, and Matthew Smith kept wanting to take control, even though there was times where Cian Noonan was doing fine. There was times where Matthew Smith was calling for moves that Cian Noonan didn't know what to do. So the Social Elite's finisher was Sean Guinness would have whoever was unlucky enough to be in there in the electric chair, and then Matthew Smith would come off the top rope and hit them with the Meteora. So Cian Noonan had him in a fireman's carry, and Matthew Smith was screaming put him in the electric chair, like we practiced. We didn't practice anything. So he tried to get him in the electric chair and couldn't do it. So it was a mixture of Matthew Smith and Cian Noonan not being on the same page, and BDE being such an incredibly well-oiled machine. So BDE were able to pick up the win, and they are now number one contenders for the OTT tag titles, which are currently held by Sammy D and Trent Seven. So that'll be a very good match. And then we had Chainsaw Luke Frehill from Kilkenny defeating Crybaby Taylor. That's really his name, James Taylor. But he's called Crybaby. He was coming out to the big grand entrance, and then they announced him as Crybaby, and he got a hair agitated. Unfortunately, could not challenge that rage into a good performance against Chainsaw Luke Frehill, who got the win. And then in a singles match, Renzo Rose defeated Young Dara. This match came about because Young Dara had the audacity to leave his sports bag in a chair that was for some reason in the middle of the school gym where Renzo was sitting. So he got very upset, dragged Young Dara out and gave him an earful and said, how about, I'm going to teach you a lesson, me and you contenders. So they had a really, really good match. Renzo Rose really had to fight hard to get the win. Young Dara is probably one of the best prospects on the country. Like a little skinny ginger lad. You wouldn't think there's too much to him. He's actually very, very good. Renzo Rose, is an absolute gobshite. And you see Mr. Kennedy running the shows. Yeah, Renee was actually over in OTT in October for the 10th anniversary. 5-minute match against Big Damo, literally French tickler finish. That was it. But no,
we had a coffee in the shop one day, and we had a 10-minute chat, and we solved all the wrestling problems in the world. It was great.
Yeah, Renee's a good dude. And Mr. Kennedy was there for I think the second Scrapper Mania. So he's good. Is he related to Chainsaw? I do not believe so. I don't know if Terry Funk has any family in Kilkenny. That would be like a. Imagine
Funk is fairly popular in Kilkenny.
Is he? Yeah, but does he have family?
No, that's the surname Funk is fairly popular in Kilkenny, I'm pretty sure.
Who do you think you are with Terry Funk? But Renzo Rose got the win, even though young Darrow lost, he came off looking incredibly well. Could definitely hang. And then Raven Creed, the women's champion, had a non-title match with Kat Von K. Raven Creed got the win, and then Jacob
Starbucks
Strong.
friends.
Yeah, and then Jacob Strong. If you don't like, before you even I tell you anything about Jacob Strong, he was a local competitor, and he didn't get an entrance. That alone should have told you that he was in trouble. And he faced a revamped Boots Murphy. So at the Belfast show, May the 4th be with you, there was a May the 4th Battle Royal, which for the NLW Championship, and the final two in that match was Jay and Boots Murphy. Boots Murphy got very close, but Jay eventually eliminated him, retaining, and he cut a promo backstage saying that like being a nice guy and all this and being Boots has got me nowhere. So he's now doing things his own way. He said these boots are made for walking, and they went home. Now Nathan Murphy's here to stay, so he's very aggressive. There's a part, so the guy's called Jacob Strong. He's wrestling, so he picks him up and he goes, "Nathan Strong," and then he starts slapping the shite out of his chest. It was brutal. Not a good night at the office for Jacob Strong. Got battered from pillar to post. A very interesting new direction for Nathan Murphy, and a bit of a botch here. They were showing his Titantron, and normally what they do is they show the Titantron, then they flick back to the graphic of the show. The Titantron, the last bit of it was like a picture of a field, and it froze. So for the whole match, when they went to the hard cam, there was just a picture of a field behind them, and you could see like the Apple desktop behind. You could tell Joe was having a heart attack trying to fix it. It just a light.
I listen to some of these names, and it just reminds me how big a fan Joe was of Ring of Honor.
Yeah, yeah, but no, Joe had a bit of trouble with the desk, but eventually they got it fixed. But it was a fun thing to look back at, just like, who talks now? And you go to the crowd, there's a picture of a field behind, and then eventually like the Apple desktop thing, like dragging down and seeing the PowerPoint.
The little icon there, OTT accounts.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, my God, it was like the PowerPoint slides. It turns out all the pictures on this they use on the show is on PowerPoint. So you can see like the OTT logo, like Scrap Mania, all here. Like he's just trying to get back, but they didn't show too much of it. But a great
win. The music.
Yeah, and then a tag match. So it was announced on the OTT Insider that Jay Steins, gang leader Jay Steins, and Iron Fist Ilya Zarkov were teaming up. No word on who they were facing, but it turned out to be the Sem and a very hot debut that the fans have been waiting for a long time. A gentleman by the name of Frankie Vendetta. So if you're not familiar with Frankie Vendetta, Shane O'Keefe, big beefy boy, Shaz Beef, is one of the people who hosts the OTT Insider. And he actually used to be a wrestler himself. I think he was an Irish Whip, and his name was Shane the Bruiser. If that rings any bells, I don't know if it does. It was like 2010, long time ago. I'm weak. Oh yeah, remember Be Cool hacked Joe's Twitter and booked himself against Orange Cassidy at the stadium, and Joe went back in and said, "Hi, Joe here. This match isn't happening." Joe. Well, Joe actually did something at the end, so obviously wasn't looking at the computer. But Frankie Vendetta, he's like Shane's alter ego, because Shane had to retire from wrestling because of being injured. So he's this bizarre creature in like a trench coat and a face mask who comes out dancing to music, like dancing like disco music, and it's quite eerie. But he's actually very good in ring. He's a good dude as well. He's one of the nice people on that podcast. Speaking of that podcast, Edward Stewart Tate was on commentary. Total bastard. He's a property owner. He knows very little about wrestling. His family actually were involved in giving the Dublin City Council plan permission to knock down the Tivoli. That's capped, is what they're saying.
Wow.
So he is not well liked around these parts. And because Angus called Joe Cabrera a bastard, when he turned on him, Joe Ango was suspended, and Edward Stewart Tate was in here. And just to give you some of his expertise, he was asked on the podcast, "Who's your commentating idols?" And he goes, "It's none of your business." He was asked, "Name one move," and he goes, "The shark shooter." The shark shooter.
Great name for
I think it was during the Renzo Rose Young Dara match where I think Renzo kicked out at 2, and he goes, "Oh, better than kicking out at 1." We need Ains back so badly. But he got a very hostile reception, thankfully. The lad at least is the chop off. Is it? Is that true? He's a scumbag. I've had a few interactions with him. He put up a thing saying he's going to be a Limp Bizkit, and I said, God help you if I find you in the pits. He told me he'd have bodyguards and to stay away, so I abided. Can you imagine that he was actually if he would actually be hated more than Conor McGregor and John Carnage that night, Limp Bizkit? That's something I would get because we were there. They had a really bad guest host. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. They beat Frankie Vendetta and Sam defeated Zarkov and Steins. And then the main event, again, non-title match, Big Damo defending against CBL. Another hard-fought win for Big Damo. And then after the match, Joe Cabray and Callum Black, who was with Joe Cabray, is one of the few people in the locker room stupid enough to go along this new regime, came out wearing shirts that were rolled up, slacks, and loafers with no socks, I think. The fucking state of them was shocking. And they said that Be Cool has been fired and that there's going to be some big changes starting at Summer Bash on the 5th of July. So they announced a couple of matches. They announced for Dublin that Big Damo is going to be defending the title against Terry Thatcher, because he said Terry Thatcher is one of the people who's given me a lot of shit on Twitter. You know, he's the kind of guy that would run into a wall, you know, to win champion. And then he's like, yeah, and I don't care if that wall's Big Damo. And then Joe replied, be sure to run into it head first, babes, with a kiss at the end. So very reckless. And then also Callum Black is facing CBL. And I think the way they frame this, it's going to be title for title, because they called it NLW Champion / European Championship title fight. So that's going to be Jay versus Golden Boy Santos. That match I'm really looking forward to, but I love them both. They're both very popular and beloved, and Jay especially very much against the new regime. So interesting to see where that goes. And then the next night in Belfast, Big Damo's facing Damien Corbin. So get yourself to the KF4C Centre on the 5th of July. The Black Sabbath gig is on, but who gives a shit about that? Big Damo and Fly there. Big Damo and Terry Thatcher are facing off in Tala. I mean, there's no better place to be. And if you have enough left in you, you can go on the 6th of July to the Europa Hotel in Belfast, where the aftermath will be. And I just hope something happens to this new regime. Everyone's against it. Joe's killing. He's doing more damage to wrestling than John Cena ever will. So we're going to have to see where that goes. But this is a good show. Obviously, it's very important to attend these shows. It's 13 quid a ticket. It's 4 o'clock on a Sunday. You get to see the stars. Like I talked about Jay, Terry Thatcher, all these people who we now know and love today and have made big waves in the scene, cut their teeth at Contenders. See the stars of tomorrow today.
And now forever together.
Forever together.
There we go. That it? That's this week's OTT report from me.
This week's OTT report as of now. Hopefully, he'll have more by the time we.
Has he mentioned anything about bringing Omen back? An old superstar called Omen.
Oh, I imagine. Him? I would love that. Yeah, Omen. I would just say Luther Ward of old would see Joe Cabray now and be ashamed. Oh. He probably called him a dirty wee up all nighter. He did.
Sean would say 13 a ticket, TKO, take note.
Yeah.
Can't even get a point at a show from TKO for 13 quid. They're allowing the ticket. Hang on, Terry Thatcher didn't cut his teeth in Contenders.
Well, not necessarily cut his teeth, but like he made the show. He was like a big backbone of the show happening, and he had some of his best matches on it. And but he helped other people cut their teeth. And Terry Thatcher, I think, actually won the I think it was the NLW champion or the GN championship, I think actually. He won it at a Contenders show. And he had that match with Mark Haskins he had at Contenders. I think it's Contenders, one of the ones in like 2018, late 2018. Check it out. It's absolutely unbelievable if you have the OTT on demand.
There we go. Right, quick little bit of history, and I only have a few birthdays this week, so it's not too bad. This week, 2009, after suffering a torn left bicep in his Extreme Rules cage match with Randy Orton, 2 days prior, Batista was forced to vacate the WWE Championship. 2002, Stone Cold Steve Austin walked out on WWE just hours before Raw was due to go live from Atlanta, Georgia. On the show, he was booked to face and lose to Brock Lesnar for the first time ever. Austin was enraged that WWE would give away such a potentially historic match on Raw. and this capped many months of frustration with his booking in the company and his physical condition. Austin would not appear for WWE again until February 2003. 2006, WWE presented ECW One Night Stand at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York with 2,460 fans at ringside. This was the first official revival of the ECW brand since the bankruptcy of the company in early 2001. 1987, the final of the tournament to crown the first ever IWGP Heavyweight Champion was held in Tokyo, Japan. New Japan Pro Wrestling founder Antonio Inoki defeated Masa Saito to win the title. His reign would last 325 days, but would be the only time he would ever hold the title. That's the way to do it. Put the belt on yourself first. 2014, WWE announced the release of a dozen performers, including 2, Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal, who would return to the company and win world championships in future years. 1993, WWE presented the first ever King of the Ring pay-per-view from the Nutter Center in Dayton, Ohio. Shout out to the people who came into the shop today as well. They were from Ohio. The centerpiece of the show was an 8-man tournament to crown the King of the Ring. After 3 classic matches against Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect, and Bam Bam Bigelow, Bret Hitman Hart was declared the winner. His crowning ceremony was ruined by Jerry the King Lawler, who attacked Hart and began an on-off rivalry that lasts for a number of years. The other major happening at the show saw Yokozuna defeat Hulk Hogan for the WWF Championship in what would be Hogan's last televised bout in the company until 2002. There we go. So some notable birthdays. In line with Dark Side of the Ring, we start off the Sheik, 1926. Mark Henry, 1971, whose son has just been hired. Hector Garza, 1969. What a Wrestler, Jerry Lynn, 1963. And we rounded out with Jack Rougeau Jr., 1960. They're your notable birthdays for this week. So there you go.
Was Jack Rougeau the Mountie, or am I thinking of another Rougeau?
That was a different Rougeau. Was it Jack Rougeau? There was 2 Rougeaus.
If he was, Jerry Lynn and the Mountie back to back is killer.
Jack Rougeau. We'll have to get back on that.
Right, quick comments in here. We'll go through them. Ted, John Cena did no damage to wrestling. He's a legend of Irish wrestling.
Oh no, I'm not saying he has, but like he's threatening to. And everything Joe is doing will do more damage than John Cena ever will, promise.
Improved by Jerry the King Lawler, I think, is what you meant to say. I think you're forgetting one birthday in Irish wrestler from NWA Ireland Originals. Am I? Let me know who it is.
Who
did I miss? Tell me who I missed.
Ooh.
Tell me who I missed, Ted. Don't put it out there and then not tell me. It's coming through in the comments.
It's not Balor, is it?
Who did I miss?
It's no way it's Balor.
No. Who have I missed? Forget one birthday in Irish wrestler from NWA. Yes.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. I forgot totally.
What age is he?
I'm not going to give away the age.
Well, let's not give away the age, but what date?
I'm not going to give away the age.
What about the date?
It was the other day actually, because he was celebrating 10 years with Rachel as well. So congratulations to Bodie as well on that. But a big birthday congratulations to Ian the Dynamo Kelly. About 60 now, Ted reckons. I think there's a no in there, all right, but I don't think it's 6. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's 5 either. I'm not too sure. I think there's a no in it, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, biggest happiest birthday, of course. You know, the man who originally got me going in podcasts. I say it all the time and let people know that. So shout out to, birthday boy and all that. I think though, Ted, his birthday, I think though, was last week, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. So I'll have to get onto my sources for notable birthdays and make sure it's included in there going forward. Ian the Dynamo Kelly. Big up, Eno.
What a man.
Right, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button and drop a like on the video. We truly appreciate your support here every Tuesday or Wednesday when we do the shows. So it is a good night from me and from you guys. Say good night, guys. Say
good night and God bless.
Night.
Good night and God bless.
Over and
hope very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, lads, a pleasure as always having you on. I love the panel shows; they're brilliant and stuff like that. And we have the hot takes going forward. We have the OTT update going forward. Sean, you're gonna have to come up with something. The Nikki Bella fan club, Irish fan club, or something like that, or you have to come up with something.
That house down, I will.
Instead, you know the way, like for Pride Month, we like one wrestler gets spotlight every week or every day. Sean should find best matches of the Divas era 2010 and showcase that on every.
I'll tell you what, Sean,
and you have to write like
I'll watch
it on it.
Text us and we'll watch it, and we'll get back.
Yeah, we need 1,000-word thesis on how it went.
Because I had a lot of piss breaks whilst they were happening, so it'd be a nice refresher for me. So if you want to text me, and then I'll be able to watch it again and see what I missed.
You probably don't have another piss break.
Yeah.
Oh, class.
Yeah, absolutely, Ted. 100%. Right, folks. Talk to you soon. Have a good week.
Good night. God bless.
Good night and God bless. See you soon.
See
Can't wait. I can't wait for